Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to really sharpen our language skills. We're talking about those words we use all the time to compare things, the ones that make what we're saying more precise, more descriptive, and yeah, a whole lot more powerful. You ever just stop and wonder why we say bigger, but we don't say gooder? Or why it's the fastest car, not just faster car? Well, it turns out there are some really simple rules behind all this. And once you see them, I promise, you're never going to get them mixed up again. So, where do we even begin? It's actually pretty easy. You just need to know that we have two main tools in our comparison toolkit. And it all boils down to one simple question. Are you comparing just two things, or are you pitting one thing against a whole group? Okay, let's break this down. On one side, you've got comparative adjectives. The way I think about it, it's like a duel, just one thing versus one other thing. And on the other side, we have superlative adjectives. This is more like the championship round. It's one versus everybody else to find the absolute winner. Let's start with the comparative. Its only job is to show the difference between two and only two items. And the formula is super straightforward. You've got your first noun, a verb, the comparative adjective, and here's the key word to remember, than. That's the word that connects it to the second noun. For instance, my television is bigger than my computer. See how that works? It's the television versus the computer. That's it. The adjective big turns into bigger, and that little word than makes the comparison crystal clear. It's a direct face-off. Now, let's talk superlatives. These are what we use to declare a champion out of a group of three or more. The formula is just as simple, but you gotta notice the crucial little word we add, the. You almost always use the right before the superlative adjective. That's your signal that we're talking about the one and only. Like in this sentence, my English professor is the smartest person. Now, this isn't just comparing her to one other person, right? It implies that out of all the people, or at least all the people in that group, she's number one. She's at the very top. So, the big question, how do we know whether to add er and est or to use the words more and most? It's not random, I promise. The secret code is actually all about counting the syllables in the original adjective. It's really just a simple three-step process. First, you just count the syllables. Is it a short word, like fast, or a longer one, like important? Second, you apply the specific rule for that syllable count. And third, you just add the right ending, or the right word. That's pretty much it. Let's start with the easiest rule, the no-brainer. For those short, snappy, one-syllable words like fast, cheap, or fresh, you just tack on for the comparative, so faster, cheaper, and you add est for the superlative, fastest, cheapest. Super simple and clean. But of course, there's always a little twist, isn't there? For some of these one-syllable words, if the word ends in that consonant-vowel-consonant pattern, like big, you have to double that last consonant before you add the ending. So big becomes bigger and biggest. Now, two-syllable words. This is where things get a little more interesting. Some of them, like gentle, they just follow that simple and s rule. If a word ends in a y, like happy, you change that y to an I and then add the ending. So happier, happiest. But for a lot of others, like polite, we use more and most. Honestly, when you're in doubt with a two-syllable word, using more and most is usually a pretty safe bet. And for the long words, anything with three or more syllables, the rule is a huge relief because it's always the same. No endings to remember. You just put more or most right in front of the adjective. More important, most attractive. See? Easy. Of course, we're talking about the English language, so just when you think you've got all the rules memorized, you meet the rule breakers. These are the irregulars and exceptions that, well, you just have to know. You can think of these words as the rebels of the adjective world. They don't care about our syllable counting patterns. Nope. They just forge their own path, and our job is basically to memorize them. And you know what? You already know the most famous rebels. We don't say gooder, right? We say better and best. We don't say badder, we say worse and worst. These irregulars are so common in our everyday speech that they probably feel pretty natural to you already. You also have to watch out for something called absolute adjectives. These describe a state that you can't really grade on a scale. I mean, something is either unique or it isn't. You can't really be more unique. Something is either perfect or it's not. These words just don't have comparative or superlative forms. All right, you've learned the rules, you've met the rebels. Now it's time to put all that new knowledge into practice. Let's do a quick quiz and see if you can apply what we've just talked about. Okay, first one up. How would you complete this sentence? We're comparing two things, and our adjective is big. What do you think is the right form? And the answer is bigger. Yep, it's a one-syllable word. We're comparing two nouns, so we add er. And because it has that consonant-vowel-consonant pattern, we double the G. Nicely done. Okay, let's try a different kind of challenge. Take a look at this sentence here. Something's not quite right, is it?
This is a really common mistake. So based on the rules we've just gone over, what's the error here, and how would you fix it?
Exactly. Big is a one-syllable adjective, so it gets the ER ending. We don't need to add more in front of it. The correct way to say it is, my bed is bigger than my desk. So we've covered the rules, from the really simple ones to the trickier ones. And now that power is in your hands. Using language with this kind of precision really does make you a better communicator. So I guess my final question for you is, what's the most interesting way you're going to use this knowledge to make your own communication even clearer and more impactful? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.